So, Ms. Hetherington, would you like to begin by just introducing yourself, what you do, how you relate to STEM?
Isabella, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right,
Yep.
thumbs up. Uh, First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to talk to STEM, to meet with all of you. What an opportunity for me to see the future of where technology, engineering, mechanics, stuff that makes stuff move. This is an amazing opportunity for me, and I'm very excited. I appreciate your time very much. I'm also getting a cup of coffee at the same time. Thank you. Oh, the office folks don't want to get caught on camera. Hey, so what do we do here? I'm the founder and the president of a company called the Hetherington Group. We are an intelligence agency. We're an investigative firm. You might be familiar with TV shows like Homeland and NCIS and Law and Order and all those types of TV shows that are out there. Killing Eve, any one of those TV shows that show people who use the internet to find information to solve problems. That's what we do, but we do it for the private sector. We're supporting companies, especially STEM-based companies like Dell, Microsoft, Google, and of course the ones that keep those companies running, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and other great brands like that. We help them by giving them insight and information into what's going on in the world and how it affects their companies, whether it's their business flow and operation, or threats against their technology and infrastructure, or threats against their people. We have a saying here that really just everybody that walks in the door that comes to work for me understands this is what their day is about. We protect life, property, and reputation. At the end of the day, everything that's going on in the world, our task, my team's task, is to protect people's lives, to make sure that your reputations do not get, dragged through the mud, and to make sure that your businesses and your property can maintain and keep operating. And I mean, obviously, we're all zooming in, right? Things have been disrupted quite a bit for 2020. That's the overstatement of the year. But with our work, we make sure that all those executives that are also working at home are safe working from home too, because they're not in their sealed and protected office buildings. So that's just the sum up of at least what this year is about for us and what we're doing. But we've been in this space for 26 years now. I know I'm old, but we've been doing this for a long time. And it started with the blossoming of the internet, and it has grown now all the way up to the advent of TikTok and other social media platforms. I'm more than happy to answer very specific questions, but Isabel, why don't you roll around and see like what you want to know more about? Because I could really talk about anything from the programmers at Dell to I go down to NASA once a year and talk to astronauts. It's like, what do you want to know about STEM? Who can I connect you all with?
Well, let me start off by saying that sounds amazing, everything that you do. So I asked people to see if they had any questions they wanted to ask first. So if anyone has any questions specifically, if they want to get the ball rolling, I have a list of questions that I have prepared in case. Eva, is that a hand?
That is a hand. I'd love to start off with the first question. So, how did you discover your interest in this particular field, and what things did you have to study? Who in your life could have influenced you to get to where you are today?
Eva, that's an excellent question. I mean, it's way smarter than half of the guys I get in class. And I'm talking, these are the chief security directors that were like retired FBI for 20 years. And, they're just like, when's lunch? No, that's a smart and insightful question, because that's queuing you up to look at this as a career option. And I encourage that. My beginnings didn't start in the security or the technology world. I have a master's of library science. I'm a librarian. I mean, just like the lady in the media center that's in your high school, I'm the person who's handing out books and answering questions. But what's interesting for me is that librarians back in the 1990s, we were Google. You didn't have Google. You didn't have a device that you could just quickly ask a question of. You had to come to me. So I was like the be all answer all person. And then technology obviously started making its way in. And instead of like, oh no, no technology, like librarians will always be the best, no, I was like, I embraced it with both arms and welcomed it in. And I went back to college. So my first, by the way, my bachelor's degree was in philosophy. Look, I will always say it was absolutely the best college degree I could have ever gotten. And I would encourage you to be big thinkers and write long documents, but it's absolutely useless in the business world. So that's why I went for a library science degree, because I'm like, well, I like reading. But then I went back and I went to NJIT and I got a degree in information technology systems. There were no STEM programs. I mean, STEM wasn't even a thing then. There were no girls in my class. There were like, maybe there was like one other woman in there and her company was paying for her to go. So she just basically showed up. But I was into it. I was tearing computers apart. I was getting down to the binary level. I learned how to do Gorilla Basic programming, and I got into it because it's just like what I enjoy doing. I pulled my own Category 5. I laid my own networks, and then what I did, because I was still at a library, is I took all that technology I was learning and I applied it to the library. So in the library world, and this is what a lot of you do, and I see a lot of the game changers in your world and your community doing now, you take that little bit of knowledge that you've learned and you actually apply it, and you make videos about it, and you talk about it, and you share. And I think that's amazing. What I did with that, though, there I am, I'm a technologist and a librarian sitting in the information hub, and all the cops would come into the library to try to answer questions. And I finally realized, I'm like, wow, you guys really don't know how to use the internet at all. I mean, they were clueless. So I got brought out to their communities and started teaching police, this is what the internet, and then this is what the World Wide Web looks like. It's, it moved very quickly. In your lifespan, the internet has grown like by 20 times. It ages in dog years. So I took the little bit of knowledge and I just went for it. I'm like, well, nobody else is offering to do this, so I'm going to throw myself into it. And I started teaching. And I have an expression I use when I'm talking in front of young minds. I say, try and grasp. You have to try. If you just sit there and you watch everyone else do experiences around you, I'm not worried about your fear of missing out. I don't care if you miss a big thing. I don't care if you're like, oh, nobody. No, I care that you would miss an opportunity that is laid out in front of you, and then you don't get a chance to better yourself for it, even if it means you fail. And I failed so many times. Oh my gosh, I failed so many times. But I did. I kept trying. I kept putting myself in those moments. And the next thing I knew, I was teaching at the, it was the World Trade Center to the Secret Service. And I was showing them, this is the World Wide Web. And then I was teaching the FBI. And then it was the CIA. And then it was all the local law enforcement. Now I'm still teaching. It's 25 years later. I'm still teaching all these places. But what I do is and grasp comes in. I bring other, especially young women, on board. And I try to just give them opportunities. I'm actually at my office. This is what you could do, right? So try to picture this as your end game. Whatever career path you do, you love, make sure you love what you do every single day. It's not going to be like that all the time. There could be days you're like, oh man, I just want to sleep in, which is like this morning. But then there are days when you wake up and you're like, I'm going to actually make some big changes. And in this place, like I can hear them all running around. I bring my dogs to work. This is it. This was my end game, to be successful enough to be able to buy my own darn building so I could bring my dog to the office so that I have a quality of life that I appreciate. I mean, gosh, I have a chandelier hanging from my office ceiling. I am not your usual business executive. I'm a librarian turned security hawk with sparkly earrings and crystal, and bring my dogs in and enjoy, because this was the other important thing. And I know it's kind of going beyond your question, because there was no formal education. There was no structure. I laid out the plan. I said, this is what it's going to look like. I set the tone. You better keep up, Buttercup, is what I told everyone. And I just kept going forward, and I honestly didn't look back. The only time I looked back was when I was reaching back for another woman in the career that I could pull forward with me and say, sister, this is how it's done. And I will say this, I had a lot of ladies and gentlemen, a lot of men who supported me. So if you find those mentors and you find those people who could support you, it really gives you a place to bounce off of, even if it's just amongst each other, even if it's, I call up Isabella and I'm like, I get this crazy idea, and you're you're a young STEM mind. You see things with a certain type of clarity I don't know. You know, I could reach out to Cameron and I could say, what do you think of this idea? And if she thinks it's absolutely ridiculous, I value her opinion. So I hope in a roundabout way I got to answering that, but there was no path. There was no like class I was supposed to take. I took library science, but you know, I also like to think too, librarianship is still the ultimate place for answering questions, and every one of our jobs is going to require us to answer questions at some point. So why not get taught how to do it? It's like knowing how to program a robot, whether you do it in Python, C++, or even an old Gorilla basic program. So long as you get the darn thing to move across the floor, you've accomplished the job.
I just want to say that was really insightful. Thank you so much. It was really, I was expecting like, oh, I took like one course in college and then I became much more interested in it. No, but like, it goes to show that really becoming a woman in STEM doesn't just start from here right now. Being a woman in STEM can happen at any time. And it's really the effort you want to put in and what you want to pursue.
You're absolutely right. This is a little fact I learned about a year ago. I was awarded something called the cyber, what the hell? Excuse me. Cyber warrior. I won't sugarcoat it. I get a lot of awards. I'm a female in this industry for 25 years. I'm like one of 5. Okay, so we get a lot of awards. And none of them mean anything to me, frankly, because you know, yay. But this one meant something. It was by Cybher, CYBHER.org. And they're 2 professors out of Dakota State University. You know, like Dakota State's pretty far away, right? Dakota State is one of the premier cyber defense, cyber offense training academies in the country. It's been blessed by the NSA, which is our highest level of intelligence. So like we always see things about like the FBI and sometimes the CIA. Yeah, they're great. But let me tell you, in this sphere, the NSA is the gold standard. And that's one of the NSA schools. One of the other ones is the University of Arizona. And I've been asked to teach. So I'm teaching for them now. It's funny because I don't have a PhD, but now I'm a teacher. But the thing that Cyber did is there are 2 professors there, both females, Dr. Ashley, Dr. Pam. And they brought me on and they said, we want to inspire these young girls from South Dakota. Not very different from us. They were all STEM girls, teenagers, you know, and I thought, well, I'm from Jersey, you know, we're a little faster. We're a little cheekier. We know what diner food is. You know, we know what disco fries mean. You know, so I walked in there all swaggery, and these girls leveled me out immediately because the technology, they bypassed me by like 1,000 times. And I'm like, all right. You know, you tell me what you want. But the coolest thing is that they were the same mindset. Eva, sorry. They were starting. Some of them started about 6 months earlier. Some of them have been doing Rocket Academy schools since they're kindergartners. You know, parents are really into tech, so they started them young. What we learned as a technology and training is that the young women were given a little bit of training even late in life and caught up very quickly to those that were doing it for a long period of life. So you might have someone, and this is very true, this is statistically been located, and I've got numbers somewhere, but a lot of young boys who are taught technology from a young age, you know, we think they have the exception and they go through and they end up in all these science and technology classes in their teen years. And then they started introducing girls because maybe girls then got an interest in it for whatever reason. They weren't into it when they were young. They were at equal scoring level by their junior year of high school. So it wasn't like, well, I'm sorry, Isabella, but you're not there yet. You're not going to be able to, you know, you're going to take another 3 years. You'll never catch up. No, girls caught up very quickly. I want to remind you that women were the leaders in technology up until the personal computer. The very first Macintoshes and IBM PCs that showed up in the 80s, that's when the business industry, the whole industry went to men. Up until then, this was a woman's business because, you know, go back to the history books, and this definitely predates me, okay? Women were the typesetters and they were the secretaries, and they worked in the steno pool. They did all, like watch those old movies, like watch The Crown. It's women who are behind the technology. They were the first programmers. And then we developed personal computers, and because personal computers got developed, games got developed, and that was what attracted young men to computers, because they played games on computers, and it wasn't games that were appealing to us. So we floated away from it. We gave up the lead. I'm a little mad at us for that. I really am. I think we gave it the lead, but frankly, I think we're way smarter, and we could totally overwhelm them and take this over and own this again. Don't you? Yeah, let's do this.
Well, thank you so much that was really worried, but a really purposeful and insightful response. Let's open up the floor to any other members who have any other questions.
I can ask one. So what challenges do you face as a woman in the male-dominated industry, and how do you what do you do to cope with it?
Michelle, that's solid, because that is a reality. And I get asked this question a lot, how do I, and it's the different industries that I touch, because it's technology, it's also investigations and intelligence. And let's call me what I am. I am a hoop wearing, unconventional girl. Well, no, I'm a very conventional girl, but I'm unconventional in a security. I should have a suit jacket on, and I should look like an FBI agent, right? Because that's what they all look like, but that's not true, actually. I think the biggest place where I had imposter syndrome was that I was a librarian in the security sector. I personally never got pushback for being a female. I personally never felt anyone overlook me except once. My company got bought out overnight by a very large firm. This guy came to me and said, I want to use your services and products, and I want to bring you in. And I'd already been running my company for about 10, 12 years. And I said, well, I'll consult for you, and then you could do whatever you want to do with it. Just pay me. That's our model. Just pay me. And he's like, no, I don't want to date. I want to get married. So overnight, I basically sold my company to him. And it was great. It was a big educational learning experience. I can't say that I didn't cry 20 times in the first week as how could I have done this? Because there were so many questions. There's so many things there. But the one time I remember I got brought in, and this vice president's looking at me, and I'm a managing director, so I'm a big hoo-ha at this place, right? And he sits another guy next to me, and he's a retired FBI agent. He's a managing director, and we're supposed to be equals. And he said, Cynthia, you have to report to him now. And I was such a slap in the face. And I just asked him why. I demanded an answer. I didn't just accept it. Why do I have to report to this guy? And he says, because you're out there, and I don't know how the heck you do anything or how you get customers or business. Ironically, I was the only person working in that team that actually produced money for this company. And here's the thing, Michelle, you'll be that girl one day. Hopefully not, but there's every chance that every one of us here on this call may be that girl one day where you're the producer, you're the one with the answers, you're the one who did the research, you're the one who lost sleep that night, and now you're not being respected for that. And you have to take that in context. The first role of context is, if you're the admin and you're the new intern and you are all poised, hopefully looking for internships in the coming summer or winter breaks, or doing something where you can keep building your skills outside of school, or you're getting a job. There's nothing wrong with getting out there and making a living, getting some pocket money for yourself, but be active. Don't just be squared away in your little world. Explore. There's going to be a time when someone's going to call you the intern, and they're trying to be dismissive of you in that way. And you say, I have no problem. The intern is my role, but Michelle is my name. Please don't forget that. Please do not forget who I am. And then don't ever, I'm going to take off my glasses for emphasis here. Don't ever treat someone who reports to you in any way, shape, or with any disrespect. Just because someone did it to you doesn't mean it's proper for you to do it to them. I have seen more women cause harm in this area than I have seen men. I've seen more men in my life say, yeah, you're a crazy librarian turned investigator, but darn, you have some serious technology skills. I need you on my team. I'm going to bring you aboard. and yet women have been like, they just tear you up. They're like your hair, your glasses, your nails. They tear, and I don't know why we do that to each other. So don't be that girl. When I feel that I've seen my friends have been getting cut because of the male to female change or any type of difference. I mean, you could be, I have friends who don't identify as the person they were born as, and they changed over the years. And, I think the most appropriate way to deal with that is to say like, well, how do I call you? First conversation that you're getting notified of this, like, how do you want to be identified? Who do you want to be? Who are you to me? And I think if they get that clear and you're good with that, there's no changeover. All we care about at the end of the day is what work do you do? Did you get your work done on time? Am I chasing down your projects? Are your papers in? You produce. You have no reason for anyone to want you. Let me ask you a question, Michelle. Has anyone ever, dismissed you because you're not a male or you're not in the right, zone as to what they say? Have you felt that yet?
No, but I feel like not based on gender, but I feel like I've experienced like something similar to you, but probably like less intense, like how like if we're working on a project, like making like me or like someone else do all the work, but then like getting the same grade. I don't know. I just feel like it's not fair.
That does happen. Now that's a little different than the gender bias, but somebody stepping on your work and claiming it as their own, that happens every day, all day long. And this is how I figured that one out. The same guy I was told I was going to need to report to, right? He took all the credit for all the work, me and my team. And that was the big thing, is I always stress the team, because, I'm brilliant and I'm me and I'm all that, but I'm nothing without the load of people I've got working on the floor above me. The guy who just brought me that cup of coffee, who I will make sure I thank, because it's not his job to bring me coffee. I'm like, God, I got to get up in there. His coffee machine's too slow. But like they prop me a advocate of always put the names of all the people who contributed to this work in your report. I really feel like that's fair. I am the outsider, though. That is not the norm. I would ask that you grasp, that you pull those people into anything you do and share that spotlight, because this is what will really result in it. People will look at you and say, what a leader you are. You're so confident in your work, but you're even more confident in your staff, that you're not going to take full credit just for yourself, because everybody knows you didn't do it all by yourself. They know it took a bunch of people. And if someone is going to do that on top of you, and it will happen, just look at that as a personal shortcoming on that person and don't let yourself get torqued out over it. If it's a contestable point because you're being overlooked, overseen, not getting a raise, not getting considered for a promotion, not even being seen, talk to that person. I always say initially talk to the individual who may have because they're following a norm that's been passed down for generations. And, I never thought maybe I should put Michelle's name on the report. Ask for it. I mean, if you don't try, if they're an absolute jerk and they completely want to suppress you and take all of your, your credit and your money, then you got to stand up. You have to advocate for yourself. But sometimes you got to, I'll get a pick on Maddie. If Maddie's the VP in charge of all of us and she's just showing up at all the meetings going like, look what I did, I might pull Maddie aside. And this is a very uncomfortable conversation, and you should all get ready for this. In fact, Isabel, it would be great for your team to have training, not just in technology, engineering, mechanical stuff, which is all introverted in your headspace stuff. What this world, all of you need to learn how to do is how to interact with the public. This is where your shortcomings are, because you get shy, you stare at your shoes, you don't ask for things you deserve. Are you getting the vibe of my enthusiasm here? I'm like physically getting closer and closer to my camera as I'm talking to you. I'm going to go to Maddie and be like, Maddie, I think you're great. I think you're amazing. You have beautiful hair and a great smile, and you're so good at running us. You're an excellent VP. I would love to be like you in 4 years. I really want to work my way up to be like you. You are my role model. Is there a chance you could give me some more FaceTime with the boss? Is there a chance you can give me credit for some of the work I'm doing? Can you give me side projects I could take responsibility of? And you see what I did there? This is more the investigation side of me and the intelligence gathering than the tech. What I did is I said, how do I appeal to Maddie's ego by telling her she is amazing, whether she is or not? I'm sorry, Maddie, but maybe you're just like riding on everyone's credit. But how do I just appease to her ego and make it her idea? And then say, she'll come back and she'll think about that. She has to recognize that you asked for it. But guess what? You never asked for it. You're done. It's never going to happen. So I'm like so long-winded. Isabella, you can cut me off on any of these. Feel free.
No, everyone is loving these responses, I think. I find them very insightful. There is one thing you mentioned, and I was hoping you could elaborate on it. You mentioned imposter syndrome, and I think that's very important. We haven't really gone over that as a group. Could you explain what that is?
I love imposter syndrome. I'm still in imposter syndrome. The very small Cynthia version of what imposter syndrome is that you've been invited to be part of something like STEM, and you're looking at your own qualifications and you think, I don't belong here. You know, Haley is super technical. She's doing Python scripting, and she's won 6 awards at robot conferences. And I basically wrote a help page for the school website. You know, you sit there and you're constantly comparing yourself with others. Now, that is healthy in the sense that you can look and see where you are for your age, your demographic, you know, your challenges. Because when you start comparing yourself to others, you say, I really want to merit my skill set up. Like Michelle and Haley are really started off on Python scripting, and I'm thinking I really want to follow that, you know, because they're having interesting conversations. But you don't have it yet. So then you hang out with them and you feel like you don't belong. That's the imposter. And yet you stay and you sell it like you own it. And that's what I do. I don't own my career, but I put a face on it like I do. My mother always told me this: what you can't hide, decorate. What you cannot hide, decorate. And it's funny because as I was coming into this industry, it was a lot of very tall, white, retired male agents. You know, they all looked like, I can't think of an example now, but, you know, they all looked like those guys you see on TV that are, you know, federal agents. I mean, they all look like that. I would mix up their names because they all looked the same to me, like big, tall, white guy, retired federal agency credentials. So I would show up, and I'm wearing a little bit of something now. Not disrespectful, not tacky, okay, but a polka dot. I mean, I would go right in. Polka dot, flouncy, pretty dress, earrings. I'd wear my hair long. And I'm like, I did not look like any of them. Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm totally standing out. Hello, you need to stand out. You need to be separate and apart. You know, a lot of the folks that I have business with today, and I have a Rolodex of over 30,000 people. And I've met every one of them from here to Singapore. And the thing that they always remember is they remember, and they talk, at least they tell me, you know, my talent, my skill set, my ability to solve their problems. But I'm always like that little flourish that walked through the meeting and stepped apart from everybody else because I am different. Eva, is your hair blue or gray? Is it? Right? Right? So cool. So be that girl. Be that girl.
Eva's hair is purple, just for context. She's just a little flattered right now.
I love that. Oh my God, I love that. I wore a blonde streak in the front of my head for years, and now everybody's going purple, and I'm like, it's past me. But to put things in context, so my investigations manager's name is Rachel. Okay, there's a big sign. My office manager, now he's my chief operations officer, is Paul. So we're like role modeling, right? Like the person who runs the office should be the woman, and the person who runs investigation should be the man. No, totally opposite. And I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't trying to prove a point. I wasn't be like woman empowerment or anything. I just because Paul is amazing at operations and keeping us all together because we are all over the place. And Rachel, who has purple hair, she may have just dyed it back, but COVID, we can't keep it up. But Rachel had purple hair, and I remember going to a meeting with her. It was like one of the accounting firms or something in New York City, and we were buttoned down. We try to look like them. It's It's a tradecraft, which is a sense of blending in and trying to be part of something. And we were talking to the vice president of risk assessments for the, northeast part of the whatever part of the world, and we're very important, very well paid people. And she showed up, she had purple hair, and I'm like, and I just said, don't stop talking. I'm like, whatever you do, don't stop talking, because if you stop talking, you're going to start looking at everything else about you. But if you're talking, it means you're intelligent. It means you're sharing context. It means you're giving them information that they need to know about. It means that you're telling them what the answers to their problems are. So the other part of that, be the best you can be, which is a big part of, the imposter, because you don't believe yourself. But there are times when you don't know. And that can be really damaging, because if you flub it, how do you recover? So my best advice there is admit to what you don't know. Hey, I'm really great at robot technology, or maybe chemistry, true science, traditional biochemistry, technology, chemistry, biotech labs. NJIT is doing so many things there, I can't even keep up. But maybe you're in that space and someone starts asking you questions about, I don't know, this was really cool. NASA just grabbed a piece of something orbiting. Help me with this. Asteroid. Just grabbed a piece of an asteroid yesterday. Literally, it's in space, like traveling at 8 gazillion miles an hour, and they took a Land Rover, dumped it on there, grabbed a piece of it, and flew away. And we're going to be doing science on that. Some team member in there the whole time was going, "Oh crap! I hope this works. I really hope that this comes through. I really hope that this happens." And then they show you, if you haven't seen it, look for YouTube today and look to see the NASA grab of space particles, because everyone in the room is like, woohoo. What was interesting is I noticed that the women were cheering most, and there were a lot of women in that room. And that was really, thumbs up on that. We're totally taking over again. But there's a lot of them that are getting in that sector, and they don't really know much about NASA. So you're the chemistry whiz, and then people are asking you about the thing that's going on in NASA, and you're like, I don't know about it, but I can find out. Librarian's best answer. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know where to find the information, and I'll get back to you on that. I'll give you one more real riff on this. This is so relevant and so current. So I mentioned University of Arizona. They asked me to teach their open source intelligence program. And I had to do an interview, which is funny because they called me up and they said, we need you to design, create the structure, and teach open source intelligence to our college students. And I had known the fellow running the program. And I said, now thanks to COVID, I'm not traveling as much. So I actually could teach a class. And yeah, I'd like to teach that. So he offered me the job and I said yes. And then a week later, his administrative assistant calls me and said, you have to do an interview. And I'm like, you already asked me. That's awkward. I'm like, okay, let's do the interview. So we do this, we sit down. Huge hoop earrings. By the way, biggest pair I ever owned. I was like, I don't care. Because if I want to know right at the beginning of the relationship, if you don't like me because of that, then we're good there, okay? We know exactly where we're at. So ponytail, hoop earrings, sweatshirt. I was just kind of like in the middle things. I'm like, let's do this interview. And they started asking me all these tech questions. And I'm not kidding. I didn't know the answer. Even if I knew the answer, I had such a moment of freeze, just like you all have or you've had. I was just like, I'm a total idiot and I don't know the answer to any of these questions. And I think it's because I haven't done an actual interview in 30 years. And I'm feeling all those pressures. And he totally laughed at me in a good way. He's like, okay, I'm going to throw a softball question at you. It's kind of embarrassing when you're in the interview and the interviewer's trying to make you succeed and you're just failing because you can't get away from your own imposter syndrome. So he says, well, why are you so interested in open source intelligence and what makes you want to teach this? And that was because he went from the brain to the heart, which know when you're answering from which, you're welcome to answer from both places, but identify and say oh, Jason, now that you mentioned why I want to do this, let me tell you, I think it's absolutely groundbreaking and important that we offer open source intelligence training from the college level down to the high school level, because it teaches young, intelligent minds how to properly do research, how to get started on any type of question answering adventure, so that we don't ask them 10 years later when you're in grad school, by the way, you have to write a 20-page paper on this, and you've never been taught that. You girls realize no one has ever taught you how to do research? You've been assigned papers and you've been given somewhat guidelines, but outside of STEM, no one has ever taught you how to actually do proper research. Yet when you do your technology endeavors, you're taught what the research or the scientific method is. Like you've got a plan, like they gave you a plan, like, because the scientists have it all figured out. Like, this is our method, follow these 5 steps and you're good. And you get that science mind and you do it. And then someone says, I'd really like to understand what the flu of 1918 has and what we can learn from there as it applies to today's COVID. And you're like, wow, I don't even know where to start with that. So I was telling him this, and he was just like, his eyes were like, oh my God, I have to get you started in class tomorrow. He fell in love. I watched him fall in love on Zoom. It was awesome. I think that
So much that really, we haven't had the chance to talk about imposter syndrome, and I think that's really important for us to all learn about, and who better to learn about it from than someone who knows what it is, has seen it firsthand.
is an imposter.
What?
I am an imposter. Well, that's it. Isabella, you reached out to me and you said, would I do this STEM class? Were you nervous at all reaching out to me? Let's answer that.
I mean, a little. I'm going to be honest. I don't like emailing people.
Which method do you like? Do you like calling, speaking, or texting?
It depends on the person, I think.
So you're more extroverted and open-minded to it. You like to make the connection. I hate the telephone. Does anyone else hate making phone calls? Right? And we didn't have cell phones growing up. They came not too long after, but as soon as I could text people, I was like, totally. My behavior, the way, and I'm definitely somewhere on the spectrum. I mean, I'm not very high, I'm not very low, but I definitely identify with people who are on the spectrum. And I think a lot of people in our industry are. We just haven't like given everybody a title yet. But all that means is that we like to communicate differently with different people in different environments. And one of the best things you could do is how do I feel about communicating? So the awkward conversation is going to always be email or telephone call. And that's what you did. And you know what was so cool, Isabella? You said, to accomplish this thing, I have to do this. And you had that little bit of a knot in your stomach because, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to say no. I mean, really, that's what you got to do when you get yourself in any situation you're going to face down. Anna could be going for a job interview in 2 weeks. She's really pumped up for it. She wants to do it. She wants to win. And she's nervous because she's, am I wearing the right outfit? Am I going to say the right thing? Do I wear mascara or not? I mean, it's important questions. And yes, that's an important question. Don't devaluate what you think about yourself. So then Anna gets there and she is like in the interview and she's like, she's sweating it out, right? She's having that moment. What's the worst the person's going to do? Are they going to get up and smack you? Are they going to get up and start scolding? No, that's going to happen. They're going to say, thank you, Anna, very much for coming. We'll get back to you as soon as we have a decision made. If you can visualize what's going to happen at the end of that communication, you control the context, and control is everything. Control is also the way we get around imposter syndrome. Yes, I'm not the brightest in the room. Yes, I don't have all the answers, but I'm really good at keeping the communication lines open, and I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to adapt, and I'm humble. I think that, and this is it's a sexist statement, but I'll make it. I think women are much more adept at being humble, not having to be the big man on campus and be the strong one in the room. What's interesting is when you take humbleness on, you actually become the strongest person in the room. You control the narrative. You control the conversation. Isabella, you came to me and very professionally, very intelligently asked me, would I do this? You gave me a video clip to your YouTube video. You said, this is what we're doing. And it was worth it. I found, and I have no time. I have zero time. Especially now the elections are coming up. We're doing stuff with the election and we're doing stuff with the coronavirus vaccine coming out. all of those companies, and because we're being recording, I won't say what their names are, but we are very involved with the intelligence efforts of the two biggest things going on the planet in the next 13 days. So I don't have a lot of time. But Isabella made such a compelling argument, like, we have a STEM class. I'm really interested to hear you speak. We won't take up a lot of your time. Here's a video of what we're about. And I was just like, oh, let me check that out. And then I was like, you did something sciencey in the video. And I was like, that's so cool. I wish I knew how to do that. And I fell into it and I said yes. And now I'm in love with everybody on the screen. But you know, it's any of those times. I'll close that thought down with, you will, and you should. And if you don't, then you're not being authentic to yourself. You will have times in life when you realize, I'm not the smartest person in the room. All I ask is that you remember, yeah, but you're still in the room. You're still there. It's yours to lose. Like when you get a job interview, especially, or college applications start getting back to you and they have questions, at that moment, like I have a contract on my desk right now with a very big company. And if this company fails, like bye-bye internet, okay? So this is like a big movable thing, right? And when they called me and said, Cynthia, would you consider doing part of the contract? Like, would we do our intelligence work for this company? They contacted me. I didn't reach out to them. So although I feel like we're not as qualified as the FBI, let's say in this moment, to do that scope of work, they came to me, so they see value. So it's mine to lose. All I have to do is find out what makes them say yes, and they will say yes. And again, I can't stress how much of an imposter I am. I'm a librarian turned security technology expert. A female, good-looking, by the way, good-looking female, that counts for something. And my company is small. We bring dogs to work. We are not the normal corporate security company you see. We're so boutique and different that I actually embrace it and sell on it. And it's like a thing, and so everything is mine to lose. So I play everything to win. And my team, which we have a great, what do I have? I have 6 analysts now, 4 of which happen to be females, and two are males, 4 are females, and they all know that we say yes to everything as it's coming in the door, and then we figure it out. If you start with the no, it means not that you can't do the work, but you have a lack of confidence in what you can do. If your automatic is no to everything, it means you don't have the confidence that you can accomplish it. In true realism. Don't say, don't quote me a year from now when you say yes to organizing all of your school functions, your family's parties, orchestrating, band or whatever drama things going on. So there's a lot out there, but take every opportunity you can. You got to keep trying and grasping.
I think that was really great advice. I think we probably have time for one more question. Does anyone want to ask anything? Anyone? Bueller? Someone please get that reference.
I'm going to put my email in the chat box.
Oh, I think that would be a great idea. Thank you.
Which, you know what? Here's a question for you. Where are you guys located?
We're in New Jersey.
Okay, can you narrow that down?
Yeah. I'm sorry, we've had people who are not from New Jersey talk to us, and I was like, oh, we don't have to be specific. Montville.
Okay, so you're around the corner from me. We're moving, but the company's located in Wanacue, which is Passaic County, which is not far from your area. So I know that some of you will be coming into your summers and winter breaks, and sometimes you're looking for an internship or you need support with I have to accomplish a STEM related program or project. I would ask that you reach out to me. You have my email address in there now, and see if there's any opportunities here at the Hetherington Group, because we do bring interns on. Oh, here's something crazy. Talk about being disrespectful. Who doesn't pay their interns? There's so many people. All right, so if you get a great opportunity, like Dell or Microsoft calls up and it's going to be for free, take the opportunity, okay? You want that Dell or Microsoft name? But I think the first sign of respect to anyone is paying them for their time. Even if it's not a boatload of money, it's something, right? So because your time is valuable. I mean, your energy, your effort, your expertise. Do any of you do Python? I mentioned Python like 20 times. Anyone here into Python scripting? Are you mostly in chemistry, electronics, or technology? What kind of STEM programs are you running here? What kind of STEM programs are you running here?
So our actual, the activity we're doing now this month is actually coding. So next week we're going to be presenting our projects. We don't have a lot of people with coding experience. Lizzie, you know Java, right?
No, actually,
Sorry.
no, I use Khan Academy and I actually taught myself a little bit of JavaScript over the summer, and my dad actually wanted me to like continue with learning Python, but I think this college apps has been keeping me a little busy, so I haven't really gotten to that yet. But after that's all done, I really hope to like continue learning like about programming and definitely adding like definitely adding Python to like my skill set.
Lizzie, keep programming. Girls, can I tell you, let me give you just some basic industry expertise here and what it looks like when you're out there getting jobs. First, you're applying for colleges, okay? And I will, again, they're trying to fill a gap, and sometimes we feel subjected because we're females, or maybe we're not the right, biology that they expect us to be. But if they're opening up the doors for girls who code, and you're giving scholarships for this, go get I have it right behind me. There's a book on Python sitting on my shelf right behind me. Learn Python in 24 hours. Learning girls that I've gotten jobs for. One, I had gotten a job over at Dell. She'd already been in the business. She'd been working there, but she's probably pulling in about 200,000. The other two, one is over at Google now. Another one's at Microsoft. They're not doing the traditional, these gals are not working, just creating Google or YouTube or whatever. They're not doing that work. They're doing security in the space. The biggest job, the biggest thing, what we are really trying to do is, it's not just about learning how to code or do things in chemistry or do things in technology. It's how to do all that in security. If you haven't noticed, the country's a little bit on fire lately. And the truth of it is we truly are being overwhelmed by other countries and their ability to outcode, outmaneuver, and out technology us. So they're turning our country's infrastructure into mincemeat while they keep penetrating our networks. And companies cannot hire fast enough. Spotify, I just got 3 ads in for we all have Spotify, right? I'm not that old, right? So my buddy over at Spotify said, Cynthia, do you know anybody who's looking for work in this field? I'm hiring yesterday. And you know what? Like I said, if you can't hide it, decorate it. If you're brilliant, you're a technician, you understand whatever the job is that you're going for, it is a bonus for these companies to hire a female. It really is. It's a bonus because they have underhired us for so many years that they are being held accountable now for not bringing in enough female hires. And so when they see, Lizzie or Andrea, and they say, we have like 6 people in the mix here, and they all have the equal qualifications. But on paper and in person, these 2 young people also are women. What do you think they're going to hire? That's a very practical, and it's a shame. It's a shame we have to go there. Use it. Take it. Take advantage of it. When you get there, make sure that you actually could do the job. Don't disappoint us, kids, okay? But be those technologists. And, when I watched that video of the NASA scientists who landed a probe on top of an asteroid and got a sample from a moving object in space at 1 billion miles an hour, I'm all like Star Trek and Star Wars and, but it was all women in the room. I was like, this is the best. This makes me happy. I don't want us to have this conversation 10 years from now. I don't want to have to address a room full of women and say, oh, we're still looking for an opportunity. No, take the opportunity, make it yours. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about technology in the future. Why don't we do that? But I love, Lizzie, that you're coding. And obviously you've got school and other things you got to get through. If you have a taste for it, again, my email is in the chat box. I can put you in touch with programming trainers, the cyber women, you know, the PhDs out of Dakota State that train the NSA. I mean, they're looking for gals like you. You go to cyber camp, they've got all kinds of programs. I mean, there's so many opportunities. When they brought me down to NASA for the first group, it was all these girls from Dakota State. And I mean, I looked at the girls and I said, about 3 out of 20 of you are actually interested in STEM, aren't you? And they were laughing. I'm like, the 17 other of you wrote really good essays because they were in Dakota. They wanted to get down to Florida. You know, they're like, I mean, I would have done it. I would have been all over that. I would have been putting my report on pink paper and spritzing it with perfume if I had to. I totally would have wanted to have gotten a trip out of it. But now the program is really revolving around young women who really are, you know, into this and into technology. And I mean, this is a whole room full right here of all of you. So, you know, again, if you see any type of opportunity you're not sure about, or you have any questions about this, I mean, you're more than welcome to email me. I love helping young women, you know, grow from being interested in a little bit of tech to getting them into jobs and positions in their future. You know, I'm very open to that, especially because you're Jersey girls. And I mean, you're my own, born and raised in Jersey myself. So
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any last minute comments, questions, anything they want to say? You guys are so talkative today.
Thank you so much for coming to interview us. You're like you're really inspiring. You're like who I want to be in the future. So really thank you for this opportunity that we have to interview you. And I hope that we do cross paths later too.
ladies, again, email me, keep me posted. I'm here to help. There are also plenty of other professionals, females and otherwise, females and those guys who are really looking for bright and insightful minds. And it's okay if you're not perfect. It's okay if you feel like you're an imposter. Great. That gives us an opportunity to help mold you and to give you many options, not just one option, not just one path. One girl came to me after the end of class and she was very artistic. She loved creative drawings and she was really good at it. She's like, I don't want to get into computers and programming, but, you know, I got brought to this meeting because someone saw something and thought I would be good at it. And I said, what do you like doing? She goes, well, I like drawing. And I said, well, what do you do? She likes, well, I don't play with computer. I don't work in computers, but I play with computer games. I said, could you envisioning drawing the next Marvel comic book hero that goes into computer games? And she's like, oh, yeah, I use computer drawing. She didn't actually see the translation that her artwork actually could be tied to technology and that she didn't see herself that way. But being old and having experience, I said, you know, you could go and paint murals and work in, you know, the art industry, but you could also consider doing this in the technology industry and making a living while you know, follow that other lead. So there's so many paths. And again, I'm here to help you with that. And I so appreciate your time and attention. Again, I love all these smiling faces. You gals are really inspiring. And well, you're from Jersey. You're all very good looking too. I mean, I got to tell you that, but I'm not surprised. But Isabella, thanks so much for the opportunity to meet your team and to help with whatever. If there's any follow-ups and they don't want to talk to me, they're more than welcome to, and you can email me or you can call me, okay? And get that back to me.
Thank you so much. This was such an amazing meeting. It was so nice to meet you. I think I just want to echo what everyone said, that you reminded us why we got into STEM in the first place. And I think you were just really inspiring. So.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. It was great to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I want to give special thanks to Cynthia Hetherington and the Hetherington Group for agreeing to speak to us. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss one of our activities. Bye!